For the observant and curious, this is not my usual microphone. I borrowed it from my brother. It's a little bit higher quality than the one that I have, so I wanted to try it out because he's not currently using it. But at that, let's get into it. What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way, and welcome to another art experiment, another character creation challenge I have created for myself, as I tend to like to do. I'm really into card games. It's been a weird new fascination for me. I recently figured out solitaire, and I really like it, even though it's random chance a lot of the time. But that made me download Balatro, which, I mean, within the past 24 hours, literally within the past 24 hours, I did download it, and it has already been real. But the fun thing about that is that in Balatro, there are also tarot cards implemented, and those are like boosters or whatever for the kind of roguelike aspect of it. It's fun, and it is funny because tarot in itself actually started as its own card game, a very, very complicated card game, before it became more popular with divination. And I feel like many a 20-something woman, I have my own set of tarot cards. It's not necessarily for me like a matter of predicting the future or anything like that. It's sort of like just getting in touch with your internal self a little bit more, maybe the subconscious a bit. Sort of like if you think of something and you flip a coin and you're like, man, I wish it was the other thing, then you weren't really indecisive. You just didn't immediately know where your beliefs lied in that moment, I guess. And I feel like tarot is similar in that regard, and like the way that you interpret the cards in your future can interpret how you act a little bit as well. So I think it's a good means of introspection is the word I was looking for. But yeah, I have with me here this Tarot of the Divine. This is Yoshi Yoshitani's deck. I follow them, I believe, on the internet now. Actually, I might need to follow them on Blue Sky. Found them on Twitter after I got the tarot deck, actually, because I was scrolling through Twitter, which is, my Twitter is dead now. I've deactivated it. I'm on Blue Sky. Same username as everywhere else. But yeah, I saw their stuff and I was like, that looks like my tarot deck. And sure enough, they were the one that made it. So really fun, based off of like different cultures, folklore, fairy tales, stuff like that. So it's easier to some degree to tell like the interpretation behind the cards. I probably still will be using the book because I'm not I'm not that good of a tarot reader, so forgive me in advance. I definitely use it a lot. Let me grab my phone so that y'all can actually see this. But the idea that I had for the concept here was that I would lay out the cards in a matter of, instead of past, present, and future, I would lay them out as kind of like a background, a personality, and an appearance for a character. So we're doing the same kind of 3-card spread. And I think I'm going to do this twice just so that I have a little bit more time to develop each character as opposed to my 3s. But I guess I'm making up for it by the fact that I'm drawing in 3s, although that's a pretty usual, simple tarot spread. But regardless, that is what we're going to be doing. So let me actually get my cards kind of shuffled here. They're all pretty and big and based off a bunch of fun folklore, which is like one of my favorite like things. Learning about mythos and folklore is so interesting to me, especially because a lot of it feels very similar, and there's a lot of very similar lessons and deliveries and stuff like that, and story types that we see in the world around us. I'm not going to try to like crack this deck or anything like that. I think I've tried doing like standard poker shuffles with these before, but they're so big and I don't want to mess them up because they're very pretty. If it takes a little bit longer, that's fine. Besides, you're supposed to get your hands in it. You're supposed to put your energy in it to it, right? I think that should be good. And I'll set these aside and I'll get my phone. Mind my dirty desk here, but okay, so yeah, the way that this is going to work is that we're going to do backstory, so essentially past. Personality, I guess could be read as present. And appearance, which is also kind of present. I don't know if I'm going to do reverses, because I don't really roll reverses, so if it comes out upside down, then that's not my intention there. Like, there we go. Oh, wow. We got a protagonist. I'm gonna try. Oop. So backstory, personality. They're all upside down. Jeez. Maybe I have my deck upside down. Well, actually, I flipped them different ways. I don't know. Weird thing there. You can see Yoshi's deck, though. Really pretty. So yeah, the Fool is a pretty standard, like, starting card. You notice it's 0 in the major arcana. So this one I know. I think I've jokingly referred to this myself as, like, the gay troubles card. Because it's like Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid, her going to a place that she's not supposed to and turning into seawater and stuff like that in the original story. Not necessarily the Disney story. Basically a lament from the creator for a person that he wanted to be with that he couldn't be, who was a man. So I've been told, at least. So that's how I tend to interpret this. But also the protagonist card. Also kind of like unwittingly going into adventure, unsure of what they're going to do. That's what this one is. This is the hero of the story. And next up we have the Page of Cups for personality. I forget what this one is directly. I want to say it's sort of like a free spirit and something to do with like the 7 moons or something like that initially. One of them survived because they went down to Earth and were rebellious. Something like that. But okay. Page of Cups. And then for our appearance, we've got the Magician, who's obviously like the fairy godmother. We could take this as an interpretation. We could take this literally and say, okay, you've got blonde hair, you've got a big poofy dress. Magician, I actually don't know the exact definition of. I haven't gotten it a lot. Upright originality, self-confidence, skill, a breakthrough, resourcefulness. So yeah, definitely just like eclectic. Probably blonde, blue clothing, I think, is the idea there. And human is another thing, I suppose, because that's what we're also looking for there. Or a mouse. There are mice there. But okay, so that's our first character. You kind of see where I want to do these in 2 because it's a lot. So let me fold these back into the deck. Actually, let me put these aside so I don't get them twice. All right. So again, backstory, personality, appearance. The world, okay. Personality, Queen of Coins, Ace of Wands for appearance. That doesn't help. A brush? I guess you could interpret this a little less literally. But let's look at these side by side. I might need to blur this, which is kind of stupid, but whatever. So the world, they had something, possibly something that was taken away from them. Basically, like, this is like, okay, happy ending, new beginning sort of card. They found something that they wanted. And I said maybe it was taken away from them based off of how backstories usually work. Personality, Queen of Coins. I don't totally know this one. She looks a little devious, perhaps, a little bit. This isn't Eve, right? This is someone else. Queen of Coins. Let's look in the book here. Eager mother, ready to bring new life. Travel the world, blessing her many children. Ever practical, she teaches her children how to help themselves. Healer, luxury, being grounded, practicality, movement. Okay, so actually kind of like a mothering type. I guess that makes sense. This is like snakes and predators are better parents than you would expect them to be. Okay, so this kind of speaks to someone who, like, has had children or wants children, almost got what they wanted, maybe got it taken away from them, kind of acts as a motherly type because of that. Appearance. This could be interpreted a bunch of different ways. This one's kind of weird to get for a character because obviously we just have a hand in terms of human personality here. Like red, black, and blue, I suppose, are major factors there. Something to consider. And I will probably take pictures of these both later to reference, but yeah. Okay, so those are our selections for today. Definitely interesting. Definitely a little bit more esoteric than I've been used to, obviously. So at that, I will pop this over to SpeedFan VoiceOver, talk a little bit more about further interpretations that I could make with these cards, and let you know what I did from there. So, see you there. On to our character for the first set of 3, the Fool, the Page of Cups, and the Magician. The backstory element of the Fool kind of gives the notion of a character who may be in the find out phase, so someone who has been burned a bit, but based on the personality, Page of Cups, she's undeterred. She's idealistic, but probably to a gullible degree. Then there's the appearance. I think I said human in the reading, but the picture is literally a depiction of the fairy godmother here, so she's a fairy, probably with some night and star motifs as well. I wanted some very over-the-top magic fairy energy here. She is all ruffles and tulle, complete with a big conical sort of like fairy tale princess hat. I'm sure it had its place in medieval fashion or something, but I felt like it also really fit her. The dress is quite short and most likely scandalous for the era, but hey, she's a fairy. I also went for the Empire waistline, the one that sits just below the boobs or above the ribs, because it feels very young to me. I know grown women do wear it, and this character is mostly grown herself, but it gives me almost that feeling of like a kid in a flower girl dress. Obviously, this version is grown up a bit, but I feel like it kind of encapsulates this character's childishness too. Her whole motif wound up all blue and silver beside her blonde hair. Since she has a big star theme, I decided to keep with the straightforward design here and call her Stella. Stella is a blue fairy, the high magic type that rarely interferes with humans unless they find a favorite. Stella is the youngest blue fairy in millennia, and she was often warned against humans. Her kind lived near a village, though, and she quickly became enamored with humans, and particularly one young man. The way Stella looks here isn't how she would normally look back then. Blue fairies are normally a range of blues to blend in with the nighttime scenery, which is why they're so associated with wishing stars. Stella started talking to the young man from the shadows, offering him favors and wishes. The man took them gratefully. As he grew more successful and powerful, the man would visit less often, but Stella had been working on her magic and decided to disguise herself to look like a human to finally show her love. She snuck out of the forest at sunset when all the other fairies were still asleep and went to find the man. And she did, declaring his love to a human woman. Stella was heartbroken. She felt as though she couldn't show her face to the other fairies, though, so she stayed in a relatively human form. Over time, she has gotten back her love and curiosity for humans, living so closely alongside them, but she can be a bit of a trickster now, too, especially when it comes to her gifts. She rarely appears as a fairy and is yet to turn back fully to her true form since her heartbreak. She still carries a lot of fae eclecticism in her outfits, though. Next, we have our spread of the World, the Queen of Coins, and the Ace of Wands. Since the World is backstory, and therefore in the past, I figured this would be a thing that has been taken away. The World is that happy ending, fulfillment, and the things coming full circle, but that is behind this character. Then the Queen of Coins implies a maternal figure, but also a lot of moving and changing, as well as a healer. The Ace of Wands was totally out of left field because obviously it's hard to base appearance off of a brush, but together these did already kind of remind me of someone. I made a character like 2 years ago who I could totally redesign to have red hair like the red fire. As for the brush, the part that would probably be the first notion of a hair color, I decided to make the hair of a different color. That's right, we get a twofer. I accidentally decided to do 3 characters anyway, kind of, because these two are Adelaide and Malik, characters of mine that have already existed. I initially designed this character outside of the channel on a kind of a whim based off of a random concept. The mother of the child who is destined to do whatever says, "Nope, not happening. I'll do it myself." You see me going back and forth between the original sheet I made for them, which could use some work but isn't totally terrible. Adelaide originally had strawberry blonde hair, which I do still like, but I like the red too. Her initial design was a challenge in making a damsel of sorts into a hero, while keeping a lot of her key features. At some point maybe I should go back with this design and show her backstory itself, but this is present Adelaide, the kind of hardened hero. I'm not sure if Malik is a little small here. I didn't want him to cover too much of the design, but I don't know if he seems teensy for that active of an infant. I'm still much happier with my baby designs now, though. I feel like he looks a lot better in this version. Adelaide was the one true love of a young hero with a deep secret. After the usual din of their life, which involved a lot of kidnappings and daring rescues, it seemed like she and her partner, Malik, were settling into a life of relative peace, and were considering starting a family. However, Malik caught wind of something that he had to deal with. According to him, it was something his family had been struggling with for a long time, and he didn't want to leave it to any future generations. He rode off on the night promising to return, marry Adelaide, and keep good on his promises, neither of the two at the time knowing that Adelaide was pregnant. Malik died shortly before his son was born, and Adelaide was told, heavily pregnant and still grieving, that Malik's bloodline was destined to destroy a great evil or die trying, which left Adelaide's unborn child to take up the mantle. Adelaide's lover was Malik VI, so she named their son Malik VII. Seeing her baby looking so much like the man that she was grieving, and imagining him going to his death one day, set her off. She declared that there would be no more and that she would do it herself. A few months later, she set off with baby Malik in tow, determined to break this cycle for her son. She also finds herself helping a lot of people from her time studying under midwives and cunning women before she met Malik VI, and a bit from the adventuring she did with the man himself out of necessity before he died. Stella eventually came across them and was surprised to have a human not really interested in any of her gifts. Adelaide kinda knew better. She hung around annoying Adelaide and eventually became the self-declared fairy godmother of baby Malik, taking a charm to him. Adelaide claims she only lets her stay because Malik likes her. But those are my characters for this week. I really like these results and I had a lot of fun this time around. It was especially crazy kind of folding in a pre-existing character of mine that kind of sat on the shelf for a while after she was created. I think their dynamic is super fun. I think Stella could definitely act as, if not a foil, then almost a sort of shadow to Adelaide's past innocent self, so that's why she's a little hard on her, as well as trying to be all mama bear and protective and stuff like that, probably still grieving too. But I think Stella also brings some very needed levity to Adelaide's life at this point. Let me know what you think though, and give this video a like if you liked it. You can also subscribe to catch all the other fun art challenges I do like this in the future. At that though, I'll leave this here, and I'll see y'all next time.